All right, serious question, especially to you Trumpanzees. How insane and demented and delusional is Donald Trump in his 80-year-old fucking freak show brain? Because here's the thing. I'm going to show you a clip in 1 minute, and you're going to see exactly what the fuck is going on in his head. It's totally disconnected from reality. So in this clip, Trump is asked a question about his policy on Harvard University. We all know he's attacking Harvard. He's attacking all of the universities because he wants them to teach the subjects that he once taught. It's dictatorial thinking. So no more academic freedom. It's you got to teach what I want taught. Anyway, I'm digressing. Let me get to the subject at hand. I'm going to show you this clip where he's being interviewed and the person asks him a question about Harvard. And he goes off into Harlem. That's how fucking mental he is. He can't distinguish between Harvard and Harlem. So he starts going off about Harlem and how good the blacks are and how many blacks voted for him and rah, rah. He never misses an opportunity to big up himself, no matter how big of a lie it is. He's going to use it as an opportunity to push his propaganda agenda. So he goes off into Harlem and then he comes back to Harvard because I think he realizes, oh, I just fucked up and talked about Harlem. I meant to talk about Harvard. So then he starts talking about how all the people in Harlem protested Harvard. Is that what's going on? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Here's the clip. You watch it and then tell me. Make your comment. Booyakasha.
Thank you for your time. It's interesting that you brought up Harvard because when people think about Harvard, what they're basically talking about is they're asking, what do you say to those who view your actions as an attack on academic freedom rather than a defense of fairness? What do you say to that?
Well, I say this. We had riots in Harlem, in Harlem, and frankly, if you look at what's gone on, and people from Harlem went up and they protested, Stephen, and they protested very strongly against Harvard. They happened to be on my side. You know, I got a very high black vote. You know that. Very, very high black vote. It was a very great compliment to me. I did criminal justice reform.
I don't know if y'all remember a few weeks ago, maybe about a month or so ago, I did a video about the measles outbreak and about the child that had died. And so there have been 2 children that have died from measles, and now they're reporting that an adult has died from measles as well. But there are now, I think they're saying 17 states that have been impacted by measles outbreaks. Boom. But multiple hospitals in Texas and Oklahoma are reporting that children are coming in now with severe liver damage because Garbage Disposal Throat said to give them massive doses of vitamin A and cod liver oil. Now, I'm not a medical professional, so I know just enough to be dangerous. But from what I understand, vitamin A does not pass through the liver as quickly as I guess some other supplements do. So now these children are not only battling severe liver issues that will probably impact them for the rest of their lives, on top of having to deal with the measles, on top of possibly dying from either the measles or the fact that their livers are not functioning. This just reminds me of the whole, during COVID, take the horse dewormer, ivermectin, right? You might still get COVID, but your colon was going to be clean. Why are y'all playing with your children's lives with a man that has no medical degree, has brain worms, eats roadkill, left his wife hanging in the barn, while he went and poured himself a drink and waited for her to effectively die. This is who you're trusting your children's health care to. But y'all the pro-life party. I'm talking, you know who I'm talking to. Make it make sense. Like, I even saw a dude post, well, it was only 2 kids. Only 2. Okay. So that's an acceptable risk for some of y'all MAGA people. Okay. Well, my children, myself, my family, we're vaccinated and proud.
Day 107 of Making America Great Again. It was a wild Tuesday. In the Oval Office, somebody asked the Prime Minister of Canada, Kearney, about basically Canada becoming the 51st state. And he said, Canada is not for sale and will never be a part of America. To which Trump pretty much said, never say never. And then the Prime Minister responded, never ever. It was awkward. The whole meeting was awkward. But I'm glad that there's leaders standing up to Trump because he thinks he literally is the ruler of the entire world. And I love it. I love watching actual leaders stand up to Trump. In the same press conference, the Prime Minister had to fact check Donald when Donald said that America doesn't do very much business with Canada. The Prime Minister's face was like, and then he was like, well, we actually do. He said that basically we are America's largest client. When it comes to goods, Canada is the largest client of America. So for Donald to say that we don't do much business with Canada is not only a lie, but just wild. Because, sir, Google is free. Obama just lives in Trump's little pea brain rent free. Today he started talking about, in the same press conference in the Oval Office with the Canadian Prime Minister, he likes to do this weird thing where he just starts randomly yapping about random stuff. And the person who is just sitting there, who was invited, is just like, can we talk about what I came here? But he starts ranting about how President Obama's library in Chicago is being built by woke construction workers and how it's basically over budget and a disaster. And he's like, I would like to help him out. I'm a real estate guy, and I have never been on a project that hasn't worked out and hasn't come under budget and been on time. Sir, we know that you don't even pay your workers. People are suing you because you didn't pay them. And what was J.D. Vance doing? Last time J.D. Vance was yapping at Zelensky, just yapping. He didn't do nothing. Nothing. Because he's a showman. Speaking of him, he started talking about how during the World Cup, everybody is welcome. This is not in the Oval Office thing. This is during the FIFA World Cup stuff. He was like, everybody's welcome. But don't overstay your welcome. Or you're going to basically have to talk to Kristi Noem. He is the most cringiest human ever. I like The Office, and I think I've referenced The Office multiple times in my little things. But sorry, I'm tired. There's a part in The Office where Michael Scott he was told by Jim a secret. And he asked Jim, it was about Pam, about him being in love with Pam. And he asked Jim, does anybody else know this? And he said no. And he thought he was a cool guy. So then he goes and he makes his hair all weird and he gets grape soda, which is what Jim drinks a lot. And so they're at the vending machine, and he goes, "Did you see the game?" It's Michael Scott. He goes, "Did you catch the game last night?" And Jim's like, "What game?" And he's like, "All of them." That is how I feel JD Vance is. That cringe, like, I'm trying to be cool, but I'm not. And so I just have to say, like, what pops in my mind. And everything that he says is just so cringy. You're just like, why? Why? You didn't have to say anything. Like the thoughts that come in your brain don't always have to go out of your mouth. And JD Vance seems to just, whatever pops in his little hillbilly brain just filters down into that mascara, and it just goes out of his mouth. Okay, so today the Treasury Secretary said that the trade representative is going to meet with officials in China and try to get a trade deal, or work on a trade deal. And I don't understand it. I don't understand the point. I know that we depend on China a lot for goods and other things, which that's bad for us. Like, I get that. But what I don't get is why this administration thought it'd be a good idea to do tariffs the way he's doing them. According to the Los Angeles, like, Port Authority guy who's, like, over, seeing the imports come in, 35% of imports is down through their port. 35%. And you may say, 35%, what's the big deal? Like, it's just 35%. That's just this week. And we're on Tuesday. So, how is the Trump administration making America great again? He was supposed to fix our economy. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to fix our economy. Multiple people knew he wasn't going to fix our economy. But this is what he ran on. Waiting. We're all still waiting. So, it is what it is. While this Trump administration is, doing supposedly, right? Supposedly they have 16 big trade deals coming. Everybody else is working on trading with each other outside of United States. So, there's that. But it's okay. Remember, he said you can go without $30. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You're going to hurt for a little bit. Don't trust him. He wrote the book.
Out of it, babe.
Maybe the USDA shouldn't have fired 15,000 people after all. That's what they're thinking now. They are begging important people to come back to work for key roles that protect Americans and the food they rely on. So the USDA offered paid resignation in 2 rounds on Trump and Musk's orders. But it wasn't as voluntary as you might think. One former worker was furious to learn that they reposted her position. She said she didn't want to resign, but she felt forced to, with repeated warnings of mass layoffs coming. Drop a note in the comments what it would take to get you back. Congressmen are wondering, why would they let people go that they desperately needed? The Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, said, quote, "We are very intentionally approaching this. Have we done it perfectly? No." She then went on to lie to the House Appropriations Committee, saying they did not accept resignations from people in key roles, although those people have in fact resigned and have been interviewed by NPR about it.
This is how it went.
Very happy and excited that Trump won. As far as financially, obviously nothing's really changed. We're still under the Biden administration, but I know that it is coming,
And this is how it's going.
so I admit I regret my vote for Donald Trump. I regret it because I needed these changes sooner. I needed the prices to go down sooner so that I didn't drain out my bank account.
Yeah, you regret your vote. And you know what? You're saying that you regret your vote. You're on video here crying your eyes out because you learned the hard way that Donald Trump does not mean lower prices for you. He, again, stated over and over and over again that he was going to do blanket tariffs. We told you he was going to raise prices. You guys said, no, we don't know what we're talking about. Experts who've studied this for 10 plus years now, they just don't know. And now you're suffering the consequences of raising prices in a shitty economy. And you're begging for money on here with a GoFundMe, which is, fine, except you're trying to use the I regret my vote trope for money, right? So I'm looking down at your caption here, and you literally have it stated that you don't regret your vote. But then you go on to use a bunch of hashtags saying I regret my vote, that you regret your vote. And I know what you're doing here, right? The MAGA family that you decided to be a part of won't donate to your GoFundMe, probably because they look at the color of your hair and immediately judge you, or I don't know. It's MAGA. They're probably struggling, to be honest. So you decided to try to ride off the I regret my vote algorithm and get your video out to the liberals, which I'm guessing you assume might have money. But we're in the same boat as you, right? Because you guys decided to vote for the orange and now we're all getting to suffer. So you strap in, you know what I mean? What is it? This is what you voted for. There's another one. If you're going to sink the ship, we're all going to go down together. I don't know. Anyways, my name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow. You want to see my face again?
I did.
Let's see what else we have here. We're on a very long path to self-destruction. John Beck, who serves as fire chief of the Waynesboro Volunteer Fire Department nearby in Pennsylvania, had applied for a weekend leadership and development course at the academy in July. It would be his first one, but he doesn't expect it'll happen now. He also says online courses don't cut it. You don't say. You mean just sitting at your computer, going through some little online training is not the same as being there in person and doing this training in person? Come on, that doesn't make any sense. I'm sure the computer thing is just as good. Who did you vote for, Beck? Does it say? I don't know. Quote, we're only 100 plus days in, Beck says of Trump's current term. I wish things were going differently. Oh, yes, he did vote for Trump. Beck doesn't regret his vote. Yet. Quote, I'm not 100% there yet, but it may not take much more, he says. And by the way, I talked to you guys a lot about this. Not everyone who voted for Donald Trump is part of his cult, this mindless cult that will never turn on him no matter what. I know a lot of people think that that's the case, but it just isn't. There's a lot of people who are soft Trump voters who voted for him for whatever reason, but are not part of his cult. And really, it's only the cult. Those people who are completely beyond reach, facts don't matter. If they get screwed personally, it doesn't matter. They're in a cult. Their brains are fried. You cannot, reach these people with logic or facts. That's the cult. That's not everybody who voted for him. A lot of people who voted for him, and we don't really have numbers on this, but a lot of people who voted for him are not part of his cult. They're not, Trumpers no matter what. They can abandon him. And look, Beck was willing to say this to someone from NPR. The enemy, NPR, they're being, their funding is being cut because they're the enemy of the people, right? And so Beck, who voted for Trump, the fact that he even spoke to a reporter from NPR is a good indication that he's not part of the cult, and that he's willing to admit to NPR that it might not take much more for him to regret his vote. Okay, that guy voted for Trump. Clearly, he is not part of the cult. Back in Emmitsburg, the diner crowd is arriving at Ott House, a family-run pub and home away from home for firefighters who train at the academy. Over the decades, firefighters have left thousands of patches from their departments, which now blanket the walls of the pub. They include patches for a government fire bureau in Taiwan and departments in Bath, Maine and Juneau, Alaska. Firefighters make up more than 30% of the pub's business. That's a big hit you're going to take. Co-owner Susan Glass is worried about the long-term impact. Quote, "I've already told a lot of our employees that it's a possibility they won't have a job for the summer, but we're hoping things open back up." In fact, many of the town's residents hold out hope that the administration will see the value of the academy and start classes again. Glass, who also voted for Trump, but feels the administration is moving too fast. Quote, "I agree with a lot of the things they're doing, but sometimes I disagree on how they're doing them," Glass says. I would love it if these,
Okay, I got some MAGA FAFO. Indiana edition. It doesn't get better than this. And let me preface by saying, it's still sad what happened, but it's duh, we knew this. First things first, you need to go look up two people. J.D. Prescott, who is a representative of the Indiana House, District 33, and then Scott Alexander, who is a state senator from Indiana. Now, I forget, since they redistrict, exactly what counties this covers, but I do know that J.D. Prescott's district covers Randolph County, which is where I'm from, and this actually involves my alma mater of Union High School in Indiana. Now, Union High School is a tiny little high school, and it's a K-12 all-in-one building in Indiana, okay? In one of the smallest counties in Indiana, to be frank. It's where I graduated from, and we had 16 kids in our graduating class, so it's very, very small. All right, now, let's skip ahead. This district, when I was chair in 2020 for the Democratic Party, this district voted for him 80% to 20%, okay? Which gives him really a mandate to do whatever the hell he wants. And nobody can ever beat him in the primaries even. I have a theory to that, but who cares if they ever want to hear it. So J.D. Prescott, who's the representative of this small Union High School, writes a bill, or actually, I don't know if he wrote the bill, but he wrote an amendment in the bill. Basically, it says that if your county has less than 55,000 people as its population, then the school corporations must consolidate into one school corporation for the county, which could give opportunity to a lot of students who don't have the class availability, etc., because they go to such a small school and there's not the funding. But you also got to remember that in rural Indiana, people they stick to their traditions, okay? And they like their packs, they like their cliques, and it's pride mentality. So they really like their school systems. They like to be able to root for it. All right? Also, Union High School is one of the largest online high schools in the state of Indiana. And they make most of their revenue that way. Now, that specific amendment didn't pass, but what Scott Alexander and J.D. Prescott did was they write an amendment specifically for Union High School and says Union must shut down operations by this July, which means this would be the last year for anything. They can't go into any new contracts, they can't hire any new people, and they have to cease operations by July. All right? Now suddenly, all the MAGA people who didn't heed these warnings, which were clearly spoken to them over and over and over again, for he's been elected like 4 times now. They don't care about that because it's too important to them to own libs. Well, now they're going to lose their school. My high school. I hate to say I told you so, but it's how you voted.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this whole circus, because this is just a circus going on. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.